Chapter 1. What is the big idea? This rule states that only 20% of the effort produces 80% of the results. And if everyone followed this rule, then people would enjoy life more, worked less, and achieved more. This rule can be found everywhere. For example, Canadian Bank calculated that only 17% of clients provided 93% of profits. And 80% of all published books belong to Peru, 20% of the authors. And the proportions do not have to be 80 to 20. The imbalance can be 90 to 10. Or 99 to 1, for example. Only 10% of people own 90% of all Russia's wealth. Or, for example, 1% of people are truly super rich. But it does not mean that having learned this rule, you should put your hands down, since you have a big chance to lose the other way around. It's a tool designed to improve the lives of each of us. Applying the 80-20 principle, we will get better results with less energy consumption. Chapter 2. How to create more with less. The entire history of mankind and the progress of civilization associated with getting more with less. At first, people ran through the forests in search of animals, edible plants and berries. Then they domesticated some animals. And they began to grow plants right in front of the house. And it was enough to go out into the yard to get food for yourself. And then they came up with it, agricultural machinery, to improve productivity. Today in developed countries in agriculture, only 3% of the workforce is employed. Despite this, a huge number of products are produced. And big department stores do everything so that people engage in self-service, for example, make electronic price tags and remove sellers. Because, at lower costs, they will receive greater profits. This is getting more with less. If you have people working for you, then you can get more with less. Provided you can find 20%. The most creative and highly effective people. And getting this ratio, you shouldn't stop. Because you can always find a way to get more. Investing even less, and you must find it. But all the previous examples relate to business. Now let's see how to transfer this principle to your personal life. A lot of what we do requires a lot of energy, but it turns out to be useless. An example is anxiety. If we are able to do something and avoid trouble, or at least reduce the likelihood of their occurrence, you just need to act and not worry. If we cannot influence it in any way, what has already happened, it's a vain worry, will only make the depression worse. But it won't do any good. 80-20 principle allows us to always improve something in our lives. To do this, you need to ask yourself a question, which will bring much better results with less energy consumption. For example, let's imagine that you need to get there as quickly as possible to the opposite end of the street. You could walk, but that would take a lot of time. You could run. It would be faster, but also more tiring. Most people make this mistake. They strive for more through more. You can take a bike and get to the end of the street much faster than if they ran away, and would require much less effort. This can be expressed in the form of this diagram. Always choose the minimum effort and maximum reward. But it does not mean, what if you are crazy passionate about something? Then we should put less effort into it. Setting myself a task. You can work effortlessly and achieve a lot. And you can put your whole soul into the business and achieve even more. All great artists and musicians have achieved success because that's what they were doing. What comes easily and naturally to them? They worked because that they simply couldn't imagine themselves without their work. They believed in her and loved her. And even when they worked hard, their work compared to that, what great fruits it brings. Completely economical. The ultimate element of the 80-20 principle is habit. Everything we do for the first time seems incredibly difficult. But the more often we do it, the easier it is for us. And that moment comes. When is it easier for us to do it? What not to do, for example. Running 5 kilometers for the first time, we die in the end from fatigue. But after a while, we can do it without putting in a lot of effort and making it a habit. We already want to run every day. If you have any bad habits, for example, overeating, smoking, or constant irritation, then throw them away as soon as possible. Otherwise, then it will become more and more difficult to get rid of them. This will give you extra time. Chapter 3 is at our disposal all the time. Many examples can be given. When brilliant scientists puzzled over some problem, and in the end, it was solved quite simply. When a person was in a relaxed state. For example, Archimedes had an insight when he's calm and took a bath in silence. At moments in time, when we are happy or relaxed, we can be overwhelmed by a brilliant thought or idea. But when we are tired and unhappy, only depressive thoughts come into my head, which are useless. Hence, 1 day of bliss and delightful happiness can cost a lifetime of boring days. Remember when you were truly happy and what preceded it. What do these periods have in common? How can you increase this time? If you come to the conclusion that you are only truly happy 20% your time, then think about how to increase this percentage to 40, 60, or 80%. If 80% of your time brings you only 20% happiness, can you refuse the activity taking so much time and select it for that? What makes you truly happy? And if you are unhappy most of the time, then ask yourself, how can I spend less time on those activities that don't bring me pleasure? Let's take Warren Buffett as an example. He runs the largest and the richest conglomerate in America. At the same time, he does not work hard, and he has a lot of free time. He makes very few decisions, only the most important. But thanks to calmness and composure, his decisions turn out to be correct. Chapter 4. Focus on the top 20%. You need focus on your distinctive and unique qualities. That is, ask yourself, who do you want to become? Focusing on your best and unique characteristics, we gain more individuality. That is, if you know how to play the violin, draw, and milk cows, choose what you are best at. And doing what? Get more pleasure. And then devote all your time to it, to achieve truly outstanding results. For example, Steven Spielberg, from early childhood, dreaming of becoming a director, day after day, did only this. That's why he achieved it, in this amazing success and results. In order to live according to the 80-20th principle, follow these steps. Firstly, focus on the end goal 80/20. That is, what do you want to achieve in your life? And what really matters to you in relation to work, for example, salary, flexible schedule, creativity, or something else. For example, I would like to expand the topics of books in the near future and cover as many of them as possible. And then maybe hire a person and do it in a similar format, artistic, books with more advanced animation. While at work, I like creativity and self-expression. I also sometimes get into programming and modeling. But since this is not part of my main plans, it just needs to be discarded. Secondly, find a path 80/20. Think about it for this. Which route would you take normally? Then ask yourself, how can you significantly improve the usual answer? Claim to get more with less. Come up with as many options as possible. If one doesn't work, try second. And thirdly, take actions 80/20. Chapter 5. Lifestyle relationships based on the 80-20th principle. In modern conditions, it's getting more and more difficult to find and keep love and lasting relationships. And that's why many people choose big number of low-quality relationships, thereby violating the principle, less is more. Many people think, what, to become truly happy? They need more money from their friends' things, sex relationships with many women at home, travel, and much more. And that's why they worry more, spend more time, attention, and energy to earn money for all this. But only by devoting all of yourself to that little, what really matters to you. Few people, relationships, and activities, we find our true essence. So invest most of your time and energy in the most important relationships. If we don't limit the number of people occupying a central place in our lives, then pay sincere and full attention. We can't help anyone. Thus, according to the rule of 80 to 20 time spent with a child, this is time well spent for the child as well, and for the family, in order to find out who is truly dear to you. Wonder whose death is other than family members will make you feel like you've lost part of your soul. And even if in your notebook about 300 contacts, there will probably be no more than 20-30 such people. Just being with these people, you get 90% of all pleasure from communication. So spend most of your time only on them. Head 6. Simple, prosperous life. The vast majority of your desires lead to nothing except for fleeting happiness. To be truly happy, you must reduce your requirements to those few. What matters most, and make you as happy as possible. When your neighbor buys a new car, surely everyone also immediately wants to update their. Although there are no real prerequisites for this, we just don't want to lag behind our neighbor. You need to cut off such desires, because they won't make you happy. Or if you stop by to your wardrobe, you probably have a lot of clothes, which you wore once, and only 20% of everything you wear constantly. So is it worth buying all these clothes? Also think about it, what are you aiming for? If you earn any amount, but don't bother yourself, and spend most of your time with your family, or relax on the beach, and at the same time you have enough for everything, then why work hard for days, moving away from family and recreation, and strive to earn 1 million, to end up with the same thing? Spend more time with family and relax on the beach. So find your point of happiness. Where to stop? Can you give one more example? Imagine that you work for a large company and earn $10,000. At the same time, your expenses are also very high. You need a good car, expensive suits and dinners in expensive restaurants. All this to maintain your image. While in the shower, you want play more piano and sculpt. If playing the piano and selling your sculptures, you will earn only $1,500. And this will be enough for you. Since you no longer need to eat in restaurants, buy expensive things, then you will be much happier, minding your own business and expressing yourself at the same time, wherein, gradually, you will serve better and better. Be consistent and your income will grow. So find your business and do it. This is the end of the book. Subscribe to the channel, like it, click on the bell and leave any comment. Bye.